Well, let's get some view then, shall we, of what this is, how this is going down stateside. I'm joined now by Mica Mosbacher, who's the American author and Republican strategist, and also Maurice Reed, a Democrat strategist, both of them in Washington. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. Mica Mosbacher, let me start with you. What do you make of the president's intervention? You said he would be prepared to go somewhere that might be controversial, and indeed he's lived up to that.
He's absolutely the disruptor in chief. If you look at these famous comments once made by the UK Prime Minister, Edward Heath, he said a diplomat thinks twice before saying nothing. Well, that's certainly not Donald Trump, who is the bombastic businessman who went into NATO with the idea of shaking up the status quo. And world leaders are still reeling from the sort of blistering, scolding attacks. But he went in that way, but then he went out with a softer tone. And I think we will see the same thing today after the meeting at Chequers, because first of all, Great Britain and the UK and the United States are our strongest ally. We have shared world values, we have shared concerns, especially when it comes to international terrorism, and we're each other's largest trading partners. So I think we can withstand these family squabbles. I know that Brits and backbenchers are kind of reeling today after some of the rhetoric and the somewhat provocative interview in The Sun. However, I do predict that the two leaders will find more in common than in their differences. But it's important to look at the nuances, too. President Trump is sending a signal. He's a populist president, and he's sending a signal that you need to listen to your people in the UK and support Brexit. That's what they voted for, and that the U.S. would be interested in working with the UK on a harder Brexit versus a soft Brexit, but that by the same token, they are not interested in dealing with global alliances when it comes to unilateral versus bilateral trade deals.
But Maurice Reed, he doesn't take kindly to people intervening in the politics in the United States, and he's done more than intervene here. He's actually taken a side against the Prime Minister, his host.
Well, I think that you have to understand that you can have a great relationship with the countries. The special relationship is bigger than any president currently, including this current president. But it's very clear that he doesn't have a great relationship with Theresa May, even though he's saying he does. It's clear he got on the plane, talked about Boris Johnson before he left. Before he landed in the UK, he had this a very aggressive tone. It's clear that she is not the type of leader that Donald Trump has a tendency to embrace. He's much more into strong leaders that are on a sure footing. Theresa May looks very weak right now, and he is sending a clear message to the party that he would like to deal with a leader that's on a strong footing. And he's sending a message particularly that he would prefer to deal with someone like a Boris Johnson. I think it's very clear where he stands.
Yes, to put that in stronger terms, Mica, he is a nation-state man. He doesn't believe in multilateralism. He certainly doesn't like the liberal progressives in the European Union. In fact, would you even go as far as to say that he would like the EU to collapse?
I don't think so, but what he's doing is rebranding the NATO alliance into the 21st century. It's metamorphosized from its original perspective and original mission, which was to fight the Cold War. And he's also tired of the United States being the world's piggy bank and carrying 70% of the load with military defense funding. Now, to be fair, the UK does pay its share. He has a great deal of respect for Prime Minister May. He does know she's in a weakened position, but after all, he made a sort of backhanded compliment. He said she could be stronger, tougher to deal with than Putin. And that means that he does respect her as a very strong ally and opponent. So I think that our alliance is not fragile. I really do feel very strongly that they will be able to do productive work today in beginning a dialogue for bilateral trade agreements in the future.
Maurice, we know that the Chief of Staff, John Kelly...
I think his actions speak louder than his words. Certainly he wouldn't go to another country and make these type of comments. He wouldn't do it to Sisi. He wouldn't do it to Putin. Clearly he doesn't have a respect for this prime minister. But to your question about the EU, Donald Trump is squarely focused on business. If it's not an opportunity where he can take an upper hand or gain the advantage, he wants to renegotiate. And that's what you see him doing to NATO. That's what you see him doing to the EU. And that's what you see him doing with trading relations around the world. He is renegotiating. He wants to reset the table where he feels that he can get a better deal for the American people. It's yet to be seen, actually, if that's going to happen. But certainly he feels emboldened and believes he is a strong enough leader and negotiator to do that.
Okay, Maurice Reed, Mica Mosbacher, good.